Okay, I was going to stay out of it, but Australia's been brought up a couple of times in the big tariff hullabaloo, originating, of course, in the United States and its current administration. It's Wednesday, 9th of April 2025. Date's probably pretty important. Things are moving really quickly and without seemingly any plan to what the direction might be. Very haphazard. Australia's been brought up for a number of reasons, but it mainly seems to revolve around beef and pharmaceuticals. People in the US have said, and people that don't necessarily seem to know what they're talking about, have said, Australia won't take our beef. So let's just deal with the beef side of it first. Actually, let's just deal with some totals first. 2023, Australia exported $9.943 billion US to the US, and from the US Australia imported $34.580 billion US dollars, which gives the US a trade surplus, which is the big thing they're banging on about, of $24.637 billion US dollars. Now, if I sit down and use the same formula that these gurus of economics have used in the States to calculate that tariff, we should be applying 36% tariff to US imports. Think about what that would do to your John Deere tractor. That would cause some sort of an uproar. I think a John Deere tractor here at the moment is about 3,000 Australian dollars per horsepower. So we actually have a free trade agreement with the USA, and that was signed in 2005. It was put together by Mark Vaile, John Howard, one of the Bushes, George W. was involved. Since that time that it was signed in 2005, goods and services bilateral trades increased by more than 100%, so it's more than double. Two-way investment, more than triple. The US is the largest and most significant investor in Australia at 1.17 trillion US dollars in 2023. That's a significant sum. So let's get back to the beef. As I understand it, reading through these documents, as we go back to 2003 when the US had mad cow disease or spongiform encephalitis, whatever its technical name is. And we do treasure our biosecurity in Australia, and it won't matter what side of government. They may argue about who's going to pay for it, where the costs will get apportioned. At the end of the day, I think all our politicians treasure our biosecurity. We are that isolated little island with a lot of water around us, and we want to keep as clean as we can. So I'm fully supportive of biosecurity. Now, to say that we won't take American beef, my understanding of these documents is that access was given to Australia for American beef as long as the animal was born, raised and processed in the United States. So the United States have said, no, that's not good enough. We want to source the cattle from Mexico and Canada. Bear in mind that may well have changed in the last month or two, but as per the documents I've read, we want to source our cattle from Mexico and Canada, and we'll process them here in the States. So that throws an immediate spanner into the works, and governments don't work at any great pace. So as I understand it, the access is there for animals born, raised and processed in the States, but not animals born and raised or born in other countries and raised and processed in the USA. Also understand that American beef's more expensive than Australian beef. That's my understanding. I'm happy to be proven wrong on that. Plenty of talk around American beef also being filled with hormones. I don't know enough about that, so I'm not going to get into it, but there's a lot of talk around it, and apparently that's why it's banned that's why they don't want it in Europe. So that's the beef story. The other area that the USA seems to be reasonably upset about is our pharmaceuticals and our pharmaceuticals benefit scheme. I think that in Australia it's something we should be very proud of in taking care of our less privileged and our aged with cheaper medicines. I'm not sure why the US wants us to change that. It works very well. The more I look at the system in the US, the healthcare system in the US, pretty unattractive indeed. So that's my take on particularly the beef side of it. Personally, I hope that we never change our biosecurity regs. It's very important to this country. There is a lot of talk, of course, about Australian being grass-fed beef. We got our feedlots too. I worked for a while in a feedlot when I was a young whippersnapper. I did a couple of stints in feedlots actually. Short term. Don't know how many yet, but there's a number of big feedlots around the place. So to say we're only grass-fed is a bit of a myth, but it's very important that we maintain the levels of biosecurity that we currently have.